Okay, so for the first part, we're going to look into your pre-draft notes if you have any of them. So, what ideas did you have going into the draft that you wanted to do?
All right, my draft idea was I really wanted to get N's team from the original Pokemon Black and White. I thought it was a really well-made team. It covered a lot of typings, and Gen 5 is just genuinely my favorite generation. So I went in with just that.
Okay, so we can move now into the actual draft where you can walk me through your picks and what went right and what didn't.
hmm So I got first pick was Vanillux, which was really lucky. I knew Vanillux would be a highly contested mon with George Womperts going with ice theme, Don Fun going with ice theme, the Blubbas, yeah, three different people at least that I can see without going through everybody going with an ice theme. So I think it was a really nice pick. I was early in the draft, wouldn't have gotten it because I feel like Vanillux is one of the best ice setters. Uh, I got really scared when I saw Gigalith and Excadrill getting picked by the United Unovans after my first pick because I do know that Klinklang is a really good mon, and so I really wanted Klinklang, but I had to push it off because I really wanted to get my Zoroark pick and my Zekrom picks early because Zekrom is a really good legendary, and Zoroark is a good ghost normal type. He's immune to a couple different types of attacks. I can fake out people by having them think that I have a different mon in. He's just a good overall mon. Uh, then for Caracosta and Klinklang, obviously I was just finishing out the team. I didn't want to grab Archops for obvious reasons. Defeatist is just really bad, you know? As much as I love N's team, Archops is probably the weakest link. He's got really good stats, but you just can't work with the fetus. Um, and then after that, I was actually just in my head. I didn't really have a plan after getting Clang Clang, so I was kind of just looking around the point board. I was thinking what I should get, and I realized I needed probably another attack defender. I have good overall. I had a good defender in Caracosta. I had a good overall stats in Zekrom. Zoroark helps me with trickery and with being a ghost type, being immune to normals, and being resistant to a lot of types. So I thought Haxorus was just a good overall pick. And Conkeldurr is where I really got it. Conkeldurr, I think, will be a really good mon that I didn't expect to get on my team, and I honestly didn't even think about because I gave him Choice Band and I forget the ability I gave him, but he has a really good, yeah, with Choice Band Sheer Force giving Choice Band giving him a 1.5x to his attack, and then also having a 1.3x on any attack with secondary effect. I'm not relying on him to give effects with his attacks. Obviously, since it's a metronome league and he's a big physical attacker, I think just having a super powerful physical attacker will really help. And then Yamask is just there to nullify any effects of people who actually had really good competitive teams in mind.
Is that it for
Those are
your
yeah, those are my thoughts through the draft.
Okay, do you have a Pokepaste that you made for this?
Yeah, I can get that really
Do you
quick.
wanna pull
Do you
that
have
up
the
for
whole
the
box?
Yeah, I'm saying pull it up and you can go through the next part, the team composure, where you walk me through, like, what each person's gonna do with their abilities, their items, etc.
Yeah. Okay, I got it up right now.
Alright, go for it.
All right, so first is my Zekrom named Zeus. I gave him a weakness policy. Weakness policy, great. Giving a bonus to your attacks. I mean, it's just he's my big guy. He's got great attack, great special attack. Those are his two highest uh stats. So giving him a weakness policy, if he gets hit by any attack that activates it, is really good. And he does have a good amount of defense to help protect him from super effective attacks. So it's not like he should be taken out just in case there's a stab dragon move. He should be able to survive it and get that weakness policy off and all that. And his role on my team would just obviously be super attacker. That's why I gave him a weakness policy to help increase those. We have the Hisuian Zoroark named Hades. Now, I chose to go with Hisuian Zoroark, as I said during my draft picks, because he has a ghost type, which I think will be a lot better since his role on my team is ultimately just going to be a uh, a trickster, and he's got a really good special attack stat as well. So I gave him the choice specs to increase his special attack, and I'm probably going to use him to trick people into thinking he's Yamask. Uh, Yamask having the ability Mummy makes it so that people will be scared of Yamask and maybe swap out some of their good people to try and hope that they don't hit Yamask and get their ability taken, since it is highly likely that they do hit him with a physical attack. Uh, so he's definitely going to be that. And since he doesn't have as much attack as some of my bigger attackers, it is more believable, even if I keep him in, and that he would be a Yamask. Now I'd have Atlas, my Conkelder. As I said a little bit earlier, I gave him Choice Band with Sheer Force. That's just makes him a super attacker. He already has uh 316 attack base, let alone with any of his uh sheer force taken into effect if he has any attacks with secondary abilities. So that's already going to be a big attacker. And he's got a good defense stat to boot. And with mono fighting, he's going to be pretty good against a majority of things. Well, he won't be good against the majority of things, but he won't be bad. Um, my next mon is Lang Lang, named Hephaestus. He's a steel type. He's beefy. He's got big defense. I gave him Rocky Helmet so that if anybody hits him, they lose a good amount of their HP. He has Clear Body so that he can't get his any of his stats reduced. Hopefully, so that he can't get his defense reduced as a steel type. Pretty solid mon. He's there to tank. Now I have Ares, my Haxorus. He's just another super physical attacker. He's more specialized. However, since he only has Mold Breaker as his ability, I didn't really feel like giving him Rivalry, seeing as uh, it would reduce his damage in some scenarios, since I think most people are just going with randoms for their genders, and as well as me. I just don't think that Rivalry would be consistent enough. So I just gave him leftovers so that he can try and stay in the fight longer and get more attacks off. Although, that's up for debate. I might give him something else later. My Yamask, his name is Charon. I gave him Eviolite because he's not evolved. Helps increase his defense and special defense, which are already his highest attacks. He's just there for Mummy so that I can steal people's abilities so that they can't use them against me so that I can just hope that my superior stats will be better. And like I said, he's gonna work in tangent with my Hisuian Zoroark to get people to swap out thinking that he's in. And now I think most of the time I'm gonna have Vanillux on the bench. I haven't built a snow team. So although I would have liked to include him on my team, he's just way too expensive. And I feel like with the few people having good snow teams, it would just be against my team's comp to run him. And weak armor just isn't that good, even if I didn't run Snow Warning or Ice Body. But I just gave him Shell Bell, give him a little bit more. Since he has a good special attack and attack stat, give him a little bit more health if I do decide to run him. And then finally Caracosta. Uh, he's a turtle, big defense. He's probably gonna stay on my bench with Vanillux, but gave him Solid Rock so that he takes less damage from super effective attacks. Gave him Iapapa Berry so that he heals up, so that he can tank even more. Pretty self-explanatory. If I do run him, it's probably going to be against a team with super high physical attackers. And that's my team comp.
All right, thank you for that. Have you accessed the Google Sheet for your conference at this moment?
I can put that up really quick.
All right. So for the fourth section, we're gonna go over your schedule. I want you to walk through who you're playing and like what games you think are gonna be the best, which games you think are gonna be the worst, and just stuff about that.
Uh, would that be in import? Yeah, blue draft. There we go. Okay. So obviously, like anybody who's new to this league, and especially me who hasn't played the newer generation of games, I already knew I'd be at a disadvantage in these leagues. So the scariest fights for me are going to be not only people, most of the people uh, who have played the newer games, but my fights are mainly going to be the people from last season as well. Those are going to be the scary fights, and I'm hoping to get as little of those as possible. So seeing my week 1 against Astral and week 2 against Papel is really scary, seeing as it's really nice to have to at least win your first week, or at least start with a positive into week 5. Because I think you after week 5, what your overall uh what whatever you call it, your wins to loss ratio, your KD, I'll just call it that. I think that you're going into week after you win or lose your week 5, that kind of sets the stage for your entire uh the entire rest of the league. So I don't like to see Astral and Papel on my first 2 weeks. However, seeing Weirdo and I'm a little scared about my first few. My first my week 5s, because it looks like I got some high ranking people here with some high ranking teams if I go and look at their teams.
Anybody who doesn't know,
Uh,
Papel is our last season champion who he fights in week 2.
yeah, big yikes. And I actually have talked to Astral couple times, did a practice match with him watching and him commenting on it. He seems to know a lot. Very scary. Uh, I don't know about Weirdo so much, seeing as I'm a new contender, but I think he might have been in the last one.
He was.
Yeah. Weirdo also ran the Unovans, the person who I was scared of in the draft about stealing some of my team comp. And I also believe that Server was in the last league.
Yes, he was.
Yeah, so big yikes for my first 5 matches. Going into week 6 against Dilly D. Uh, Dilly D's probably gonna be a good fight, I'm thinking. I think it'll be a nice battle. His team, from what I remember, is pretty even. I don't think he's got anybody that I at least should worry about. Of course, me being scared about the first 5 weeks just because somebody's got a really strong team comp. It's a metronome league. Anything can go. Anybody can have their ace use explosion, self destruct. Anything can happen. However, in a metronome league, it's all about abilities and stat lines. And like I said, I'm just kind of hoping that I can overwhelm with my stat lines. However, I think after my week 6 battle, I think it's pretty good. Going against Dilly D, going against Gobbo, Awesome AD, Pink. Looks like I got a buy on week 10, which is nice. I do like having buys in later weeks because it gives you time to look at everybody's updated teams because I feel like the first few weeks are going to be people adjusting their teams based on their first few fights. Especially me, I might sub in some of my other ones if I see that some aren't up to snuff. Uh, but I do think I got another fight against Papel, which is not fun. But however, hopefully I can prepare for that. But it looks like I got a couple fights. Some of my double fights are against people who weren't in last season, so that'll be nice. Overall, I'm a little scared about my fights, but I think that with my comp and with my stat lines, and if I can get some lucky mummies on some people's aces, I think I can come out positive this season.
So to end this section, what do you think your record's gonna be after the season?
Uh, so we got 13 fights, 14 weeks, and I have a bye. I'm thinking probably going into week 5, I imagine I'll be 2-3. But after week 5, by the end at week 14, I imagine I could probably pull back and get to uh probably 7-6.
7 and 6? Alright. So now we're gonna move into the final section, which is gonna be some questions for you, similar to that one.
Okay.
First one's gonna be, who do you think's gonna win your division?
If I'm not mistaken, I believe that Apple is in my league, which is most definitely uh it's I mean it's got to be Apple and runner up gonna be Pink.
Okay. So then next question, do you think you'll make the playoffs?
Uh is it what is it, 12 or 8-person playoffs?
We're doing 16.
16-person playoffs.
So if you win
So
your division, you get into the playoffs, and then the next 8 best from all the divisions.
next 8 best from all divisions. I think I could squeak my way into the to a couple of the lower division numbers. I think I could squeak into the bottom, yeah.
Okay, and then one final question for you in this section. Who do you think is gonna win it all?
Uh, that's a tough question. Now, honestly, for my division, I hope Papel wins it all again. That would be great for Papel getting a double time win. It'd be great because my division wins. You know, go my division. Uh, but honestly, I think there's some strong teams. The Hubba Blubba's got a really strong ice team with Aurorus. Or actually, I think they swapped out Aurorus for Alolan Ninetales even. With Alolan Ninetales, Whaleren, Alolan Sandshrew, and a Silvally that they can give an Ice Blade or an Ice Disc. I forget what you give Silvally. Uh, I think that's a really solid team that'll definitely make it to top four minimum. Uh, I definitely think the Brooklyn Brutes with Sinistra and Wailord. I mean, that's just a deadly combo right there, and that's only two of their six. I think that they've definitely got a top four. Uh, yeah, I'm gonna go for probably Papel, but I think that Brooklyn Brutes, the Hubba Blubbas, and probably the Constanta Wurmples are gonna be in the top four. I think those guys are gonna be the strongest in the season.
Apple is the brutes.
Apple is the Brutes. Well, yeah, so I think Hubba Blubba's Brutes, the Wurmples, and probably if I had to guess another one. Honestly, the Dugong's got a really strong team, so I think they'd go in the top four as well.
Okay, now into this final question I got for you. Anything you want to add to this?
No, like I said, I'm new. I haven't played the most recent games out as well, and a lot of strong Pokemon have come from those. I think I did kind of limiting myself to only Gen 5, but you know, I feel like it's more important to be having fun. Obviously, winning is having fun. But like I said, I don't think I'll do extremely bad. I think if I don't get unlucky, I can squeak my way into the playoffs against some of the other teams here. And if I can make it to the playoffs, I'll be way happier than I am just being able to be in the league.
All right, anything you want to shout out before we end this?
Shout out to N, best team ever other than Cynthia's, but I think he's a really well made villain. I'm ShadowMan, and my team is the Icarus City Idealist.
Well, I appreciate you coming on. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.